Hey, Corey. Hey, Corey, how's it going?
Hang up. Alexa, hang up. Hey, boss. Hold on. I'm going to get my camera right.
No worries. I'm helping Alexia log on.
Alexa, drop in great room.
Good evening. Hey, I'm sorry I wasn't talking. I was making the email to send to Jonathan for the poem that I'm gonna recite. And then you said Alexa, and my machine started acting to your voice. And I'm like, no. And then I'm having to stop my email to stop Alexa from talking. And then she kept responding because all you guys were saying it. It was funny.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Hey, what's
guys.
going on?
There we go.
How you doing?
Hi.
All right, everyone's here.
I don't have very good lighting on. Alexa, turn on the light.
Sorry, I didn't
Alexa,
find
stop.
the device light. I didn't find the device light.
Yeah, it's going to be an intense
It's very
tonight.
confused in my house, let me tell you. The simple I is the difference in our spelling. And she gets very confused, as do I.
Welcome, everyone, to More Than Walking's video discussion on the power of poetry. My name is Jonathan Sigworth. I'm a C7 complete quadriplegic. I was injured in India back in 2006. And I want to introduce Corey, and is going to be hosting tonight's discussion, where we'll be sharing some of our favorite pieces of poetry / music. So Corey, take it away.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan, my name is Corey. Go by the rap alias Pheez. I'm an aspiring hip-hop artist here in the state of Connecticut. And my type of disability is I have C4, C5 quadriplegia, which was sustained in a diving accident 16 years ago, June 12th, 2005.
I'm Alexia Bouckoms. I'm a T9 complete injury. I was injured in 1996 when a tree fell on my car. And because it was an act of nature, the insurance didn't pay for the car. It wasn't a motor vehicle accident. And I made the mistake, because a friend got me involved, of rolling marathons. So I rolled the Hartford Marathon 9 times, the New York Marathon 6 times, and I basically blew out my right shoulder, which makes it hard because I'm right-handed. And I'm hopeful that they can inject some stem cells one day and get some more cartilage to grow in there. But when one lives on hope, you're often disappointed, but you have to have hope.
Well, I'm Sandy. I got into my car accident about 6 years ago this year, back in 2015 in July. It was just a car accident. A little old lady missed her stop sign. It was a very sunny day that day. Yeah, I live my life to the fullest still. I try to be as active as possible. I'm really excited for poetry night tonight because I'm just now finishing my poetry book that I'm writing now.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's very exciting to know that God nods at me to say no matter how scared I am to share my inner thoughts and my life with people, I ultimately have the ability to influence people with my words, with my personality, with the things that I've been through, and I shouldn't be afraid of what people think of me because, I'm sharing love, so it's not, it shouldn't be repelled again. So if true love always comes, very handy. So putting myself out there is one of my greatest things that I want to do, to love others, because my motto in life is to love God, myself, and others. So, and the way I share with others is giving them motivational, inspirational stuff that I've been through that I feel like is, God, like He just keeps showing up and showing out. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, like Jonathan alluded to earlier, this is National Poetry Month, where it's a celebration that's been going on since 1996 by the Academy of American Poets. And it just basically recognizes the power of poetry, spoken word, including all forms of rap or how you articulate yourself. And it's very important, especially in our community, to find ways to express ourselves. And I know for me as a artist, that's like my wheelhouse. It's my thing. I enjoy being able to take an idea, a thought, an emotion, and then putting it into something that someone can view as intangible and meaningful, as we talked about earlier. Love, having a passion for something, sharing it with everyone you come across. You never know who you're going to inspire, change, or help strengthen their resolve, because they may be going through something that might not even be visible to the eye, but it resonates in their heart. And that's what's most important, and that's what makes poetry special. So I guess, for starters, first question I would ask, and, feel free, ladies, to chime in, Jonathan, whenever you want. When did you guys ever become first interested in poetry or using words or any type of literary work to help express yourself? When did you become interested in doing things of that nature?
I became interested with poetry immediately. My mom used to say even before school, I used to try to scribble down in my book. I was always completely writing something at all times. Not only I was really good with my hands, I used to do hair and braid hair and stuff like that, but I was always having a pen and a pad next to me, writing something, writing a thought. It was always something that I always had some type of composition book next to me. And my mom would always be like, "You should write a book. You're always writing something." And it brought a lot of solace to me to be able to get all the mumbo jumbo that was in my brain, because I felt like my thoughts were constantly racing. And I just try to write it all down as much as possible. Sometimes I used to get cramps. I even got pre-arthritis before I even graduated high school, because I used to write so much. It's crazy. But I used to love writing.
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah, it was really intense, to the point where when I first got paralyzed, I used to write my daily prayers every morning, from front to end. So not having the ability to physically write down some of my, rituals in the morning was kind of intense for me. I had to really slow my spirit, slow my mind, slow my thoughts, and just not let my mind control me anymore, and me have some type of, not entertaining some thoughts, and just slowing my brain and be like, you only have so much control now. You're even more limited before. So now you have to be able to arrange yourself to be able to communicate properly. And in the beginning, the first 6 months of my paralysis, I didn't have the ability to speak. I had a trach. I was on life support, and I had my jaws was locked a little bit, and I had this deep, I ended up shaving my whole head at one point, but the sides of my hair and my head was completely shaved so that they can have these bars holding me up to keep my neck straight and my head back and stuff. It was intense. For a good 4 months, I couldn't breathe on my own. I had a machine breathing for me, and I felt everything. Like even I was super alert still from the third day of me getting into my accident. I knew everything that was going on. It was just so surreal and so intense, so dramatic. It was oh my gosh. At one point I was like, this is not my life right now. I'm just gonna wake up and it's gonna be all right. But it never got all right. I wake up to I feel like sometimes, and I hate to say this in front of other people, but it's how I feel sometimes, and I'm not dark like that all the time. But I feel like going to sleep sometimes and then waking up, it feels like a nightmare. Oh my gosh, I go and when I don't never dream myself paralyzed. So every time I wake up, it's oh my gosh, I'm back here again. What? And it's dang. And then it's not like I try to drive myself to sleep or anything, but then I just motivate myself with the things that God has allowed me to be able to conquer. The racing thoughts thing was something that I dealt most of my life Like mental illness is a big part of my family. So I dealt with bipolarism, anxiety, PTSD, postpartum. Like I dealt with so much mental and chemical imbalance throughout my life. At one point when I did get into my accident, it felt like a vacation because life has been just so much back to back to back, traumatic experiences. So right now that I feel like I'm in a place where things are going to change, I have so much to say and share with people. So that's the reason why I'm writing these books and I'm writing these poems and I'm getting all these thoughts off my chest, finally being able to slow down because life was so fast before. At 28 years old, I thought I knew everything and I was doing the very most at times, but I still worked at the church. I still gave back to my community. I still, worked at the shelters and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I was still looking for more of myself to give to God. Like I used to say, I'm a soldier for God. I'm gonna do everything I need to do to get, you know, I don't want to just be a lazy Christian. I don't want to just be doing a life without sharing my life because it's hard to share people your sins and share people your dark sides without people judging you. And being that I'm kind of judgmental myself, wanting, to improve myself and others, criticism runs deep within the things that I think about. But at the end of the day, I learned to just compose myself and get it all on paper and share myself as positively as possible. And all my life, I can't really feel like I've ever been abandoned, I've ever went hungry. Like there's certain things that I've never had to deal with in my life, and I'm excited for that, even though I dealt with a lot of traumatic experiences. So sharing my words with people, I guess, is my way of giving back because sometimes sharing just a couple of sentences, a phrase with somebody can like calm the storms.
That's an amazing assessment. You're very self-analyzing, which is refreshing. All that you said alone is a poem. You know what I mean? That like that was I was just taking like some notes, and I sense driven with purpose through your injury. You know what I mean? That's a motivating factor, and it's intensify your love for writing. You know what I mean? You've had that since young, and now your accident, like much of us have gone through that trauma needs to be released. It can't be contained and whatnot. And so, by being vulnerable, which is not easy to do, it's very much appreciated. And thank you for sharing that with us. That means a lot to me because people need to hear that. How about you, Alexia? Like, when did you start finding interest in poetry?
I guess I got a book of poetry and I heard about this poetry society. And they said if you submit a poem, they could publish it. And I submitted one and it got published. So I thought, I'm a published poet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah.
My son who died, Christopher, I wrote it. The 21st, he was born on December 21st. I said, the 21st of December, a beautiful boy, a creation of joy. He was born on December 21st.
Wow. And how long ago was that work published? Do you remember?
Probably 18 years ago.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because when I was in college, my birthday is the 3rd of May. A friend of mine wrote a poem about my birthday. And he said, for 3rd of May, out of sight, happy birthday, happy birth night. I think poetry is magical. When words become something more, that putting it in the poem framework makes it more than the sum of the parts.
Sometimes people who may not feel like they're good at writing may feel like poetry is not something that they could possibly be good at. But as you stated, like just a short little few stanzas alone has an effect. Like people oftentimes quote people. They don't ever quote them in large paragraphs. They usually quote a few words, and those words are impactful and they're very powerful. So, I definitely can understand when you say that poetry is magical, for sure. I definitely agree with that. How about you, Jonathan? Like, you know, whether it's poetry, music, what makes you interested in the way that people connect with through words?
And so it was sixth grade, and I had the best sixth grade teacher anyone could hope for, Miss Wade. My first year back in the public school system after being in private Christian schools all elementary school, which was just terrifying. But this one class, one of our first assignments was to write a poem. It was, I think, one of the first poems I ever wrote, which I don't have with me today, but I think one of the lines was, "The night sky is full of frozen diamonds." And I was just so proud of that poem. And I think just the process, like I remember like sitting on my bed and like trying to figure out how to describe, you know, the night sky. And I think I was a very thoughtful, quiet kid at some points. But I think just the act of taking something that we take for granted, you know, like looking up at the sky at night, or just any experience, and trying to capture the essence of it in a way that makes you pause and feel really kind of grateful and reflect on how fragile, you know, every moment is, or every image that we see as like a fragile artifact that we're trying to capture with creative words. I think it's an exercise of appreciation, I think, of how we feel in that moment and about the world around us. And for me, that was when I first got involved in poetry. And since then, poetry has popped up in my life in both like the best moments of my life and the worst moments of my life. Like that's when I go to poetry, is when I'm experiencing like the extremes.
Isn't there some famous book that starts out with it was the best of times and the worst of times? Charles Dickens' book, Tale of Two Cities, I think.
Yeah. And like you started off, Jonathan, you talked about your teacher, you know, kind of being a little bit of that driving force behind it. Again, somebody that enters into your life that is of influence can kind of, you know, years later from that point in sixth grade till now, you can reflect on those moments about somebody's powerful words being able to resonate within your mind. And like you said, when you feel maybe overwhelmed, figuring out a way to be able to get it out. You know, there's no sense in containing all these emotions if we can't share it with somebody, right? So I think that's key. And that sounds like that has been like a driving point. Somebody in each of our lives has affected us immensely. And, you know, I think about what you just said, Alexia, about poetry kind of like contests, or, you know, you write a poem and you get it published. And the irony is, like, I completely forgot that I was a part of a competition or like a recital of that nature as well. And I submitted, I think, one poem. I didn't think I was going to get selected at all. But then next thing you know, I get a letter back, certification. It's like, you're published. And I must have been in high school at the time when that occurred. And so as soon as you said that, I told my wife, I'm like, hey, go grab my poetry book and whatnot. Because I did two of them, and then I did one after I got hurt. And I'm looking at the poem now, and I'm like, man, I completely forgot about this. And they also did a CD where they had like a professional narrator recite everyone's poem. So I'm looking at that very book right now. If we have time, I'll definitely share it with you guys. But that's awesome. And, you know, this particular poem happens to deal with my accident, which, you know, leads me to my next question. How has your interaction with poetry changed as a result of your injury? And even if it's not poetry, how you just express yourself, you know, and it could be anything, whether you vent by humming, singing. If you do write down something, how do you guys express yourself through that conduit now that ever since your injury?
Wow, it was really hard to catch on with trying to express myself. Being that I always wrote everything down, I never really need to verbalize what I was writing down. I feel like when I used to write, I was able to have a flow and get everything out on paper without having to say anything with my mouth. Now, when I want to write something, I have to be super inspired. It has to be super abstract. And it's like, it's so hard to get all at once. Before, I used to have a flow that was just like, I can get 2, 3 pages done in one day. Now it's like, because I have to record it and then transcribe it, and then, every 2 seconds copying and pasting and doing all this extra stuff that I got to do to use the computer, it's hard to want to write or be motivated to write. Especially these past few years, I've been trying to get this book, my biography thing going on, not including the accident, because I've been writing this book before I even got into my accident. This accident experience is like a whole book within itself. I wouldn't be able to share my whole life and then add this part to my life these past 6 years. I had already almost finished it last time, but now with so much more access to my brain and I was able to slow down some of my memories, it's like every season in my life, the things that I remember are not too much exactly the same. Sometimes in whatever season I'm going through, I feel the memories even more than I did before. I'm more sensitive to talk about certain things depending on what I'm going through in my life at the time. So it's been really hard to put down my experience on paper without getting too emotional or too involved with the thought of what if, what could have, dissecting it and overthinking, things that's happened to me. Writing right now is going to be the best outlet for me because it causes me to have clarity on some of the things that I thought I have forgiven. I'm just not realizing like some resentments that were built up from long ago that I didn't even know was still festering. And when I go back and I read some of my thoughts that were mumble jumbled in my mind and they're on paper and I get to straighten them out, it feels like it makes sense. Like the poem that I'm reading tonight, it may not make too much sense because I was mimicking a song that DMX made. Um, and I don't even know the name of the song, which kind of sucks that I even mentioned him, but I really was going for that kind of flow because in the song, he's just randomly spurting out different things that kind of go together. And sometimes when I reference this poem, sometimes it helps me kickstart the creative process. And when I'm trying to write other things, because it has so much different things, if you isolate them by themselves, they can be a poem within themselves. So I'm excited. I haven't dug up some of these poems in years, so the first one that I was gonna read was too raunchy. So I was like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna display myself without being embarrassed because I don't really share none of my poems. You guys are brave enough to go publish and stuff. I haven't. It's hard for me to share my inner thoughts with people because I don't know. It's just I don't know if I'm. I know it's good. Some of my stuff is really good. It's just what's good for me is not good for everybody else.
Right.
I just had a very strange idea. What if we did a group project and wrote about how paralysis made us slow down to the speed of life?
That's good.
We were racing too fast.
That's very profound.
Very much so.
Yes.
I love that idea.
I'm down to collaborate.
We could do a series of poems, how our paralysis made us slow down to the speed of life.
Right.
Or speed up. Maybe some of us were going too slow.
Right.
I do tell people I feel like I'm enhanced kind of way. Being able to decipher my thoughts, articulate my needs, and be able to communicate people properly is something that I feel like I've had to master since I've been paralyzed. I don't think I've been able to be exposed to all these caregivers and doctors and all the people that I've been exposed to as I've been paralyzed, motivating people, go places, speak my truth, tell my testimony and stuff like that without being able to get all of this off my chest properly. I'm excited. It's a great idea. I'm down to. I'm so long-winded. We talk so much.
But you know what? It's good because this is what we're doing, right? This is it's about expression and why expression is important, because many people in our community, you know, they're put on the sidelines and they're kind of muzzled, because some people may feel like, well, like you talked about your the need to express to different caregivers because you're exposed to different individuals and articulate what it is that you need and versus your wants. And I think what it sounds like to me is that your injury has caused you to be more of a self-advocate for yourself, because before you were, you know, independent, self-driven, and you took care of things the way that you took care of things. And I also hear that your injury, it sounds like it's very spiritual, because that your self-reflection and some of your poems that you look back at has led to the need to forgive and open up your heart and mend those wounds. Sometimes we find ourselves in peculiar situations that, you know, God is telling us, hey, no, I need you to go in that direction. Yes, it's going to be hard and it's going to be tough, but I need you to be able to make amends in this so that you can move forward, because it's really beneficial to you. And I know for me, that's something that I had to realize very early on, because it took a lot of forgiveness of people and individuals that I personally dealt with, and vice versa, me needing to apologize as well. So I hear that a lot in your testimony and whatnot, which is very powerful. Again, I appreciate that transparency, because that's not light. That's not light. And sometimes we're moving so fast that we do need to be sat down and brought to maybe a reality of what's important versus what's not important in our lives at that point. And now, Sandy, when you talked about slowing down to the speed of life, do you
Alexia.
Alexia, excuse me, I apologize. Do you feel like, what do you think you've learned through your injury this entire time?
I've learned a lot of things. I've learned how much people love me. I had no idea. I've learned how to slow down, although I race marathons, so I physically go faster, but I've had to slow down to say, it's okay to take time. You know, it takes more time for me to get ready to start the day and to do things, but because I'm ethnically Polish, I learned how to slow down my desire to get every place fast and to get things done quick. And that's been a good thing to learn. I've taken the time to watch the trees change color, and I never took the time before.
Before I became paralyzed, I was so ready to serve other people, so ready to jump at the chance to go do this and go do that. Because like you said, I was super independent. However, now I have to be, God said, sit down and let other people serve you, because it's one thing to give, it's another thing to receive. Sometimes it's really hard to receive and consume all of the beauty and all of the love that's around you when you're so busy exerting yourself and emptying your cup out. Sometimes God wants you to stay still and receive and enjoy and consume and smell the coffee. It's all great and dandy to see the big picture, but sometimes it's like I said last time we spoke, it's the little things that make the big picture. And so sometimes we need those little things that slow us down so that we can be able to understand and enjoy the big picture of everything.
I like how you put that, and I think that that goes alongside of what Alexia said about something that you learned through all of this is how much you're actually loved and appreciated. And then that comes, I think, in the service that people then show you and whatnot, family, close friends. When I initially got hurt, I was unconscious for 3 days. I was in a comatose state because they didn't want me to move my neck. I had the halo on my head, so the screws were dug inside of my temple. So I know exactly how many of us were during that time. It's just, I wasn't aware. But when I came to, my parents had shared with me that there were so many people who had came to visit me that they needed a sign-in sheet. And the people in the ICU said they'd never seen anything like that. Now, naturally, like walking, people aren't like giving me high fives every day, like, man, Corey, you're the man, like, Pheez, you're doing your thing and what have you. But somehow trauma and tragedy has a way of giving people the chance to slow down, as we're talking about, and appreciate how much that person really means to them. And I think that's highly important to note, that theme of love, again, is an expression. Many of those people probably couldn't never articulate how much they loved you when you were walking. But I know for me, after I got injured, it was the first time I've ever said to like one of my male friends, I love you. And I constantly before I get off the phone, I love you. I love you. Because it's, it's a masculine thing. We feel like, oh, no, I'm not going to say, love to my brother or one of my male friends. But you realize that there are some things that's just more important to express. So how about yourself, Jonathan? Like, what do you think you've learned in terms of like post-injury and how people express themselves to you?
I felt like I had two social promoters living with me for the first 5 weeks, my mom and my older brother, Nathan. Mm-hmm. So when I was in Delhi, my mom went and connected with all the church people in the surrounding city, even though we were in India and it was her first time in the country. And then my brother connected with all the college students in the nearby university and got all these volunteers to come and take turns taking care of me in the hospital. So we weren't even in our home country, and India is just very hospitable and people are very welcoming and hospitality is huge. So it felt like, those first 5 weeks, it was hard to get alone time. Like it was really, and I had a pretty positive attitude about things. I think I did a lot of reflecting, and I wrote a lot of, I think, poetry before my accident. And I was also, had a pretty deep faith, and that helped a lot. But it was when those moments when I was alone that I was like first able to like really kind of mourn what happened, right? Mm-hmm. That I wasn't going to be able to learn to play guitar like I had just started doing. I wasn't going to be able to learn that extreme unicycle trick I was working on before. I was really took those moments to kind of grapple with those things. And even those things are kind of superficial to what most of us face after injury, not being able to go back to work or any of those things. Yeah, I definitely experienced, that moment of being in rehab and being as needy as I was at that time, a moment to appreciate how much people cared for me. Post rehab, you don't get so much free time anymore. Yeah. I think the next, what you were saying, Sandy, it's hard to write now with dictation. I hate dictation. I tried using Dragon Naturally Speaking. I couldn't deal with it because I also, really missed being able to write with my hands in a cafe full of, people talking and just being able to put down whatever I wanted, if it was expletives or whatnot, and no one knew what I was writing. I could sip my coffee and write whatever I wanted. Dictating, you can't do that. Life gets busy because, things take longer for us to do. So where does one find the time to sit down and write a poem? I think that's been a big challenge challenge for me, but definitely, you know, the moments that we do have, those are precious, because I don't have a good excuse to go back to rehab and be stuck in a hospital bed for 5 weeks, you know, right now. So, but that time was a precious moment too.
Very real statement.
And the thing I wanted to share today when we get around to that is a song I would listen to every day, you know, that I basically meditated on every morning when I woke up in rehab. So that's the lyric I'll share.
Well, that's a perfect segue into, you know, the next question really is, you know, I know that we've all been doing some form of writing or something that we intake maybe on a daily basis or weekly basis to help us, you know, get through some of the rough patches of paralysis. And I too, like, I'm a writer, so, you know, and I use Dragon Naturally Speaking. And so when I first had to learn it, I was like, oh my gosh, I was getting frustrated. And when I came home after 5 months of being in the hospital, I just sat down with myself, like we talked about, talking to yourself. You know, we could be the best comedians in a wheelchair, but I said, self, if you want to write still, you have to learn this new technology, and it's going to be challenging, but, you know, what else are you going to do? And, you know, so I understand where you're coming from, because I use it all the time. But definitely, you know, we start with you, like, you know, share, you know, that song lyric or poem that's meaningful to you.
Sure. So this is a band called Switchfoot, and I've paraphrased, kind of condensed the song here. Can you guys see this all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's called The Shadow Proves the Sunshine. And it goes without the melody, of course.
Yeah.
But sunshine, won't you be my mother? Sunshine, come and help me sing. My heart is darker than these oceans. My heart is frozen underneath. We are crooked souls trying to stay up straight, dry eyes in the pouring rain, where the shadow proves the sunshine. Two scared little runaways hold fast to the break of daylight, where the shadow proves the sunshine. O Lord, why did you forsake me? O Lord, don't be far away. Storm clouds gathering beside me, please, Lord, don't look the other way. Crooked souls trying to stay up straight, dry eyes in the pouring rain, the shadow proves the sunshine. Shine on me, let my shadows prove the sunshine.
That's lovely.
And
That's very deep.
I love this song so much because in my philosophy class in high school, you know, we learned about Greek philosophers and how they were trying to prove the existence of the divine and love, and Plato had one of these parables about men trapped in a cave, and all they could stare at was a wall. They couldn't look at the opening of the cave where the sun was shining through. And for Plato, the sun and outside the cave was the real world, like the divine world, where we get our ideals about love and God and etc. And inside the cave, well, that's our limited existence. And we can't see the sun, but we can see the shadows that play on the walls in front of us. And it's by looking at those shadows that we can know for certain that something bigger exists. Mm-hmm. And that gave me so much meaning for me during rehab, because like, man, like life was so hard. I, you know, facing all these limitations, but those limitations just proved that I could do so much more, that something more was possible, that something was happening that maybe I didn't understand yet, but there was going to be something better besides this. This is just a shadow.
And what was the name of the band again?
Switchfoot.
All right, I'll have to YouTube that one. I like the title. The title that really like resonates. I took it like somewhere else. Like, you know, I was thinking about dark times, like a shadow. as being dark, but it still offers the fact that even though there's dark times, there is something brighter that is above us. I like that a lot. I really do. How about you, Alexia?
I love it. I wish I had a piece of paper and a pencil so I could write these things down, or I want to click and print this out, and I've got to stop doing that and just enjoy taking it in. I've got to slow down to the speed of life. I think we could publish a little book of the poetry of paralysis and how it's brought poetry into our lives and the way we live. That being paralyzed has some downsides, but we can find good things in it too.
You have something, Alexia, like a particular poem or maybe song verse that you'd like to share?
I'm not sure when I said what I had written about my son Christopher that I said it correctly as I thought about it more. Because he was born on December 21st, I said the 21st of December, please always remember, Christopher is a beautiful boy, a creation of joy. I mean, it's a short poem, but it's the essence of what I think about Christopher. And for years, his birthday would always get me down. And now I celebrate it and think about what a light he was into the world.
I could definitely relate. I lost a child to cancer myself. He was 16 months when he passed. And his birthday is actually coming up on the 12th of May. And last year, or was it the year before last, his birthday landed on Mother's Day. It was 2019. And it was very hard for me to handle. Like, that particular year just was really hard. My eldest son, my 14-year-old, when he seen how upset I was about my son that had passed away's birthday, he said, what did he say? He was like, well, Mom, why are you just not celebrating the life that you already have with me and you're mourning somebody that's gone? And I said, you know what? I'm not mourning him, but this is my way of celebrating his life because I'm always thinking about, the what ifs of if he was still around. And when his birthday comes around, like this year, he'll be 11 years old. I still don't want to forget the things that he brought to my life, the joy, the life that he brought to me. And that experience, losing a child, especially to cancer, because I had to live at the Ronald McDonald House in Cincinnati for almost over a year. And then I myself was dealing with cancer myself. So I guess when I was pregnant with my son, I ended up getting some cancer in my stomach or whatever, and it passed down to the baby. A little bit of the cancer cells got to him, and we both ended up having to deal with it. I suffered through that experience more than I have since I've been paralyzed. And it's something that I deal with on a regular basis. Losing a child is the worst thing that could ever happen to a mother. Like, it really takes a little chunk of your soul out of you, knowing that a piece of you is gone forever. But anyways, I digress. Writing poetry for me has been extremely like a duty. And I want to do it because I know that's what I feel like I will, will express myself the most. But like lately it's been hard to really get anything out. Maybe I should read my poem while I'm at it. I wrote this when Facebook first came out, I think. And I really was around the time where my son had just went into the hospital. We never thought we would lose him because he was so healthy. He didn't look sick. It was just a happy baby. It wasn't anything alarming. It was a blood thing, so we couldn't really see anything wrong with our child other than what the doctor was saying. He met most of his milestones and everything, so it was a very intense time in my life. And I was able to get some stuff on paper, but I remember it was a very dark time in my life because when the baby did end up passing, I just spiraled into a lot of different unhealthy things that I am glad that I overcame. with the power of Jesus, of course. Anyways, this poem is called To Love, and that's by me, which is Sandy RubyMelo, Sandy Jackson, which is my married name, and then my maiden name is Sandy Joseph. The pain, the memories, the struggle, the battle, the yearn, the heat, the passion, the wave, our bodies, my thoughts, my heart, skips beats, the strain, the yells, the smells, the taste, your lips, your eyes, your lies, your face, to heal, to deal, to feel, your touch, the swirls, the breath, the exhale, the inhale, to you, to dream, the real, the fake, the chills, for you, for me. Oh, the Sunday meals, the fights, be real, the time to clear, the tears to fear, the light, the test, the judge, the met, the day, the gift of love, the joy of sight, to shine so bright, the dark, the jump, the leap of faith, to finally say, the way you smile, you play, you lay, the signs, the stomach, the butterflies, to please, to tease, to cheese, to freeze, the happy to sad, from mad to glad, the mix, the fix, the trade to fade, to pray, to hope forever will stay, the sticks, the stones, the steps we've made, to stride the path, the walk, to fall, the up, the down, the when, the how, to give and give, to me, to you, to mellow the fam, the soul, the mind, the body and fans, to send the kiss, the wind, the blow, to bow, the save, the wink, to sink, the soak, the coach, to teach, to crack the code, the fast, the slow, to get to not, the good, the bad, the win, the long, the wait, the love, the first, the last, to break, to mend, to start, the end, to love, by me.
That's magnificent.
Wow,
That's magnificent.
that was heavy.
Yeah. And I love the rhythm of your reading, you know, it's like the heartbeat, slow and then fast.
If you ever heard that DMX song that I'm referencing, it's like da-dun, da-dun, it's like I forgot the name of that song.
The snake, the rat, the cat, the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that rhythm. I know the song you're talking.
Yeah, that's the rhythm I was talking on. Sometimes when songs come on now, just to get myself in the groove, I will definitely freestyle on different beats and record myself and actually transcribe them things, and they sound really good. And I'm like, I'm on point, y'all. But then for me to share it is another thing.
You're a poet, you know it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I'm learning. I'm learning. That's all that matters. When in college, I took a couple of public speaking classes. I used to speak at my church all the time in front of the kids, though. I don't know. So right now, me doing the YouTube is already exposing myself within itself. I mean, like in front of an audience per se, I'm not really all that great because I was still pretty nervous tonight. That's why I kind of ramble a little bit when I get nervous. But at the end of the day, I'm really proud that I'm pushing myself to put myself out there, even if it has to be a video book or a video audio book or something, because it's hard to transcribe and edit all these things by myself without the help. Editing most of my stuff is what's slowing me down from getting it done, because I want it to be presentable, even though I'm self-publishing it.
Good work should never be rushed. Right. You know
I
what I mean?
agree.
So, you know, take your time to get it out, because once it's out there, right?
Right.
And, you know, we kind of want to live life with very few regrets, whether you're able-bodied or not. So, you know, and that leads me to the poem I'm going to share, which is off of a song that I wrote. The song is called Forever Young. And it's the tale of two people that in the fruitless effort of pursuing kind of like immortality in a life where you know that you're going to age, you're going to get older, and things are not going to be the same. So I wrote a poem at the end of the song, And if you guys ever want to check it out, it's on YouTube. If you follow me or subscribe to my channel, you can
Great
listen.
stuff, by the way. Awesome, awesome. I binged listened the other day when you first sent me the link.
Oh,
Awesome stuff.
I appreciate it. So essentially, it's life doesn't give receipts, but if it did, one can only imagine how many things we take back. We exchanged our worn apparel for the untouched merchandise still with the tag. One of man's strongest desires is to switch every glitch or regret he's ever had, hoping to return to store, greet the cashier only to come up with an empty hand. Still, we plead like, I know it's somewhere. It's got to be in here. I could have swore I put it in this bag. Sorry, company policy. All sales are final. But regardless of that, we're still in denial. And I left with our rags. Tattered material litters the closet. Some good, most are bad. Outfits we wish were never purchased, but were only bought because we were following the fads. How beautiful is the attire of the spotless mind in the future without the hauntings of the past? I'll never know, because I'm learning to embrace and wear proudly the current clothing that I have.
Wow.
Wow.
See why I was nervous? I was like, we got lyricists over here.
Oh, no.
Lyrical genius over here. And then I'm going to bring my little poem that ain't never showed up. Well, you know, I'm lying. I did post this poem on Facebook back in 2010, but I don't show none of my stuff, let alone have a whole album out.
No, but you know what? The thing about, again, like what I was saying earlier about poetry and the expression of thought, no one can tell you or should tell you that what you're saying about how you're expressing yourself is wrong in the way that you do it in terms of how you format it. There's no real science to it all. I mean, if we talk about construction and structure of poems, yeah, there's a format for it, but self-expression in terms of, hey, look, these are my thoughts and I just want to articulate them. You can agree to disagree about, you know, one's opinion or one situation, but, you know, I think
that's a person with a conscience that's dissecting it. We live in society. As much as I try to stay away from negative comments or feedback, being exposed to other people puts you at risk for them to judge or criticize or whatever they might feel like they want to say about the piece that you've presented to everybody, to ultimately basically like or not like. And
right.
sometimes when they don't like it, instead of leaving it as that, they'll comment and say certain things. I think that's what my hardest thing is, being able to let go and detach from certain people's opinions of me, regardless if I feel like I agree or disagree with them.
You know, I can understand that, and that is very true. And I think that
For example, like if do you just put it out there, you put your music out there as art, or do you eventually want to do both, like art and be able to make money off of it and have some type of exposure?
Oh yeah, no, I put it out as both. You know what I mean? Like I've made money off of it already. You know what I mean? So it's like it's both. And for me, I know that growth is possible through constructive criticism. And there are going to be people who like my stuff, and there are going to be people that don't like it. If it doesn't resonate with you, okay, it's fine. If you're going to leave a comment that's nasty or snide or anything like that, I mean, you know, maybe you really need to hear what I'm saying. Because if it's striking a chord in you that offends you or bothers you, maybe you can learn something from it.
Is this your way of sharing the gospel?
Yeah, that's a fact.
I feel like sharing what I've been through with people, especially with YouTube and all the other different platforms that I've started to expose myself to, sharing the deep, dark sides of our human selves to people and allowing them to be able to cross over to the other side. Because to be spiritual or to be faithful or to have soul, like they might say, when you might need for you to write a song or to, you know, be artistic or whatnot, you have to, I personally think that you have to be in tune with your oneself and God and all the spirits and stuff like that. And thinking of all the things that go in deep, like people be saying, you have to share all parts of you, not just the goody parts, not
Right.
just the stuff that sits well with media and stuff like that. I feel like the more candid and open you are with yourself and genuine, people, even though it's a good message, they may not accept you.
With that in mind, like where like, people can be judgmental, how do you think, we could just briefly just go around real quick. How do you think the way we express ourselves can help change or help add to the world?
I think the most powerful thing about poetry and kind of putting your artwork out there is when it's genuine and authentic and like real to your experience. Whether you're trying to share your faith, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're an atheist, no matter what your perspective is, it's such a powerful way to get people to share perspectives. It's similar to watching a movie, similar to film, where you're kind of immersed in someone else's world and you really don't have a choice. As long as you're sitting there reading, or as long as you're sitting there watching, you have an opportunity to experience something from someone else's viewpoint. And we have no control over what other people think of us. We have no control over what people think of what we have to share. But if we're sharing it for the right reasons, which is simply to share who we are, right? As opposed to share something that will make us famous or share something that other people will like, then we're selling out, right? Then we're just sharing not ourselves.
I don't mind to be famous, because the famous people seem to have money. Just saying.
Yeah, they have money, but I'm sure a lot of them might be pretty miserable on the inside.
Oh yeah, it's not all about money, but I don't mind being compensated for some of the work that I feel like is hard work. Like keeping up with certain things is really hard work, and I want to be able to share that in my work as well. Like this is not something that I just thought overnight or wanted to do overnight. It's something that I've been staying up overnight to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, for you to put in all your hard sweat and tears and then somebody, takes it the wrong way or judge you harshly. Like I remember one of my videos, the first negative comment that I've ever received on YouTube, I erased it, but then I kind of was mad that I erased it because I kind of needed a reminder of how people are. They will not, no matter how nice you think you came off, or how genuine or how real you try to come off, people will still take some of the things that you say out of context. So I have to be reminded of that too. And then even with sharing my deep personal stories, like let's say if somebody wants to go in deep and be like, what kind of cancer your son had, or going deep on some of the things that you share, sometimes you don't want to talk about that right there and then, and you want to just let it be what it is. But people will comment on everything that you say, whether it's comfortable or not. Sometimes when you expose yourself too much, you're exposing yourself to people to say what they want.
Yeah, that's true.
As we've been talking, and I'm going to wrap it up. I just jotted down some notes, and that I think is an overall consensus on the celebration of poetry and literary works this month. And what I took from everybody is that, this ability to self-express is naturally occurring. It's intense, it's motivating, it's driven with purpose through injury, it's self-reflecting, it leads to forgiveness, change of heart. There's pain, there's paralysis. You learn how much you love through your injury. There's mourning, there's grief, there's loss. It's a genuine genuine emotions, that lends perspective. It helps our sharing of our emotions, helps us slow down to the speed of life. And with all that in mind, all of this trauma leads to triumph. And I think that's what I hear everybody kind of saying. And for me, I think it's touching because I'm surrounded by people who have done something, great for me at this time. There's a reason why we've come together at this moment to share these stories. It helps fortify us, right? And so when we all get off from this call, we can all reflect on this conversation and realize, you know what? I'm not alone in how I feel. And no matter who says what, as long as I have people who can love on me, that's all I need. I'm fine, and it leads to a point of being content. And so I thank everybody for, just opening up and being vulnerable this evening. I really appreciate your words and sharing your stories. It was really amazing.
This has been great. It's been great to spend this time and get to know you all.
Awesome.
Yes, it was.
I didn't know people like you were around.
Oh, this is really fun, guys.
Thank you
everyone for sharing.
I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but it was just lovely. What an oasis. Oasis in the desert of life. Getting together and talking about poetry.